Hello, I'd just like to show you the latest progress on the publish component. I will upload it tonight so you can give it a go. A lot of things have happened in the user interface, so I've changed a lot because it holds a lot of information. But I've landed on this so far, and I'll just like to take you through the paces of making these scenarios. So first of all, I've connected, and now I'll just sync to have the same geometry that I have inside Rhino. So the component now has everything above this point is about changing the viewer to the different settings that is shown here. So, and also I've changed quite a lot of the interface, so they have dual purposes as well, and also I have some buttons down here because so they don't take off much space, because this component might take up a lot of space the more scenarios that you made. So I made a big effort in actually making it very compact. But it has the same functionality that it did before, but with the scenario I think it's quite strong. So as always, you can change the different settings that is presented to you just like before. And of course you can change the time of day and the time of year. And then you can clear the content just like before. But you can also have a checkbox to say if you want to save the clear content setting. And the same goes for the position. So let's say you want to have this change the position of you might want to move around and set the position, just have people move to a particular position. But if you set the checkbox, that position will also be saved in the scenario. And then when you load that scenario, that position will be asserted to everyone who's also in the view. So that might not be the case you always want, where everybody goes to a particular position when you change the scenario. It could be that people are moving around freely and you don't change the position. So these two, and maybe also you don't want to clear the content because you already have content in there, and then maybe you just want to add a clipping plane without loading the entire content. So you can choose if the content should be cleared, and also whether the saving should include the position. But you're of course free to click them anytime that you want in the component to have it sent right away. So let's start making a scenario, and the good thing is you can now override your settings. So let's just start by setting up a view. Let's say I want to be somewhere around here. So I set the position to there, and then I choose to save that position. So down here I can save the scenario that I have for now. I just go to scene 1 and hit enter, and now you can see that scene 1 is saved. This one will tell you if it has content, if it has the clear flag, or if it has position. So this one only has position. So that means when I hit this scenario, all the settings will be set and the position. So let's make another scenario where we move around a little bit. We don't have to do everything now because you can always load them in and redo them. So let's set the position again. So I want to move over here, and I want to set the weather to maybe this. And let's also change the time of day to something like this. And then still save the position, that's fine. So let's call it scene 2. Scene 2. So it still has the position now because I'm just changing around the positions all the time. So let's make just the last one down here where I view it from maybe afar. And let's set that position as well. And maybe change the time of day as well. And maybe also the time of year. And let's save that as scene 3. So that also has a position, of course, because I want to move around. So let's say, okay, this doesn't have any content, anything. So now I can just go back and reload scene 1, which is this one. And then I can actually choose to add content to that scene. So let's do that. And all you have to do is override. If you give this scenario the same name as one that's already saved, it will override it. So let's just click this one called scene 1 and hit save. And now you can see it has content as well. That means that it's having this content as well. So let's just clear the scene just for now. And let's load scene 3. That's this one. And let's load scene 2. So now we're going back in order, and then scene 1 will load the content, and then the content, and then the position as well. Okay, so let's say scene 2, let's load that one. I also want to have some content in there. So I still already have content added. So let's just move this one up. And this guy or this woman over here. Oops. And this one over here. Like so. And let's also just move the scene ever so slightly, so I'm a bit closer to these two. Set the position. And that was, I can't remember what was it, scene 3? I think it was scene 3. So let's override that with content. So now scene 1 and scene 3 has content. So you can go through them like this. So let's just clear it again here. So then you can go to scene 1, which has this content. And then scene 2 is just a position change and a weather change. And then you can go to scene 3, which should move some people up, like so. So one thing to remember is that these are snapshots. That means it doesn't just move these 3 people up. It actually sends all the people, all the meshes again. So these snapshots can be really heavy. So you really want to think about when you have content. It's completely fine. If it's the same content going through the different scenarios, you don't want to, if you only change the position, make sure that you send the content on the first scenario and then disconnect it here afterwards and then make your position changes. Because the geometry is already there. Otherwise, it will send the entire thing content every time. And these are snapshots, so it's not just the updated meshes, it's actually the entire snapshot. And then another thing that you can do, you can of course take scene 1. Let's load scene 1 again, which is this one. And then I can save it as scene 4. And then I actually made a copy now because I loaded it into the component and then I gave it a new name, and now it's also the exact copies in scene 4. And now scene 4 is in, so I can actually say make changes to that one like that, and then save it as scene 4. So now scene 1 should be this without the weather, and scene 4 is a copy but just with the change of weather. And you'll also notice I don't have content in this one, so it's only changing the weather. Also the position, so you also might want to take these ones out. And then what you can do at the end here is you can also move them around. These icons will change, so I can make scene 1 come after scene 2. And I can move them around as I want. So in this way you can override, you can copy, you can go back, rewrite, and do all these things. And of course you can also do all these set locations and grid and origin and all these. So these will all be saved. And this one, this menu has a scroll bar the more that you make, so you can actually have 50 without it breaking the interface. And of course you can go in and delete them as you want. One last thing is that this also comes out as, you can see here I have, one is the, it has a save component as well. And this is what we talked about. This actually brings it out into a one baked RADii file that holds all the scenarios and also the current control setting. And these ones can be saved with the save component like this on your computer, for example. And then you have all the scenarios and all the control component as it's being set now. This can of course be added with content and all that stuff that you already do, because the scenarios will be in a separate part of the viewer that you can recall in the viewer. I have not done that yet, but if you open a file like this in the viewer, you will have access to the same scenarios in the menus, and they can be recalled just like this. And I think this is very strong because they can be as heavy as you want. They can be a gigabyte each. Because they are exported and imported, they open immediately, and they can be very big. These ones are broadcasters, so have not tested yet how big they can be. But I must say, be careful with the content. If you don't need to resend it, don't resend it, because it's going to be heavy with materials and all that, because they are snapshots. So, and if you're not connected, you are of course free to load them in any way that you want. They will not be sent, and you can change them in here without seeing anything over here, because it does send the entire thing every time. That's as far as I've got now. I think it's very strong, this one, and I think the good thing is it addresses this one file that holds the entire project and snapshots or scenarios that you can actually take with you and take other people through in a very simple way. One last thing that I haven't added also is maybe a duration, so you can actually have it autoplay. So each scenario will have a duration until it shifts to the next one. So this could be almost like an autoplay, like a small viewer that could be on a screen, just going through the different paces of the different scenarios at a fixed time that you define when you create the scenario. This is just making another setting where you can change the duration of the scenario. And one thing I don't think maybe you didn't notice it, but when I load, it also changes the sliders up here like you asked for. So it will actually go out and change the scenarios. It's only this one that is this one that's different. Yeah, so it changes the sliders as well. If these are disconnected, it will get its time from the location of the built-in location in Rhino. If they are connected, you will get the time from the slider here. That's it. I'll upload now, and also this video, and also it requires a viewer. So right now I've only compiled the PC viewer, so you have to do that, but it will of course go into all the other viewers. And of course this also requires a new RADii file for the Rhino. But I'll upload it now so you can test it. And of course it's going to have some issues in it, but please report them if you meet any. That's it for me.